Hey, so welcome everyone. My name is Kai Ashley. I am the spiritual guide and healer of the healers. And today we have the fabulous Bethany Perry, who is self-mastery expert and human design expert. So welcome, Bethany. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. I want to say I just love your energy and your intention around talking about this topic of adversity. And it is my pleasure to not just inspire anyone listening today through the stories that we might share, but to really help them tap into their own power and any adversity that your listeners might be facing that they can realize they've already made it this far. They have overcome adversity at some point well enough to make it this far. And that means they can not only do it again, but they can do it better. And we can learn from each other, from our own experiences. And I'm so happy to be here and talking on this topic.
And that's just what it is. Like, this adversity we have that people label as failure is just learning from experience. And then you can just keep going more intelligently. It's not anything bad about failing.
Oh my God. I actually looked up what does adversity mean because we're having this conversation. And hold on, I have it right here in my very professional notes.
Oh, I love it.
But adversity is defined. I found two definitions: showing courage in the face of difficulties or misfortune. Or the second definition I found is resiliency during challenging times. And notice what's not said there. This is, I think, what's so powerful. It didn't say being unafraid. It didn't say being perfect. It didn't say not having uncertainty. It didn't say having it figured out before you took action or took the next step. It says being courageous, being resilient. And I know, I guess you and I were talking a bit before we managed to go live today. And really something that you and I feel like we have a similar attitude about is that it's who we become in the process. And it's choosing courage, not because it's easy, but because our vision is bigger than our fear. And that, it's really not about being perfect, because if we hold ourselves to an impossible standard, then we will feel like a failure always, versus if we can pull out the wins, if we can pull out the lessons, if we can pull out the part that we got to and celebrate that is going to lead to more reasons to celebrate. And it's not easy. It requires courage and it requires resiliency. And the best news of this is both of those are skills that can be learned and developed. It is not you're born with it and you have it or you don't. It is absolutely something that you can cultivate within yourself. Like, whoever's listening, you can cultivate this in yourself to get to every desire that you have on your heart. I hope that you get one step closer, at least, from spending time with us today.
Absolutely. I used to think when I was younger, I just straight up thought I was bad at everything. I thought I was dumb. I just thought I wasn't good at learning, all these things. And it actually turns out I'm very intelligent. I'm really good at doing things, but I never used to understand that the lost art of the practice. We're meant to not be good at things when we start, and then we learn. And I think so many of us were chastised as children for getting things wrong that we thought we have to get it right the first time, which to me is it just doesn't even make sense.
I totally get that. And how ironic that my experience was the opposite. I thought I was good at everything. And so it was a wicked, uncomfortable wake-up call to have failures, or to have less than an A+, to not, teenage years is when I started waking up to the fact that I wasn't good at everything. And in fact, my life became a series of, it's why I have multiple degrees and certifications, actually, is because I wanted to be good at everything, and not just good at everything. I wanted to be great at everything. And so I had body image issues that led to, binge eating and over exercising and incredibly debilitating self-talk. And so I went and got a degree in sports medicine because I was like, oh, if I can fix my body, if I can get to a certain number on the scale, then I'll have arrived. Then I will be successful. And then throughout that time and after, all of a sudden it became like, oh, I'm terrible at relationships. Why do I keep acting this way in relationships? Why do I keep interacting and participating in toxic dynamics? Okay, I'll become a relationship coach. And so I went and did that. And along the way, nutrition certifications and mindset certifications. And then eventually, like, I know part of what we wanted to talk today about was, you know, my human design, the professional training I've had in human design, and how it's, for me, I feel like it's like a triangle. If you were to look at a map on the wall, there's your body, your mind, and your mind, or your body, your mindset, and then kind of like your strategy, your words, your communication, your relationships, all of that stuff, other people's stuff, right? And that triangle looks, when you think about like a three, like looking at it on a wall, it looks like just 3 points. But when you understand the energetic blueprint of how you're designed to operate as a human, it turns into like, it's no longer a picture of a mountain. It's like it takes it 3D. And it becomes something we can really work with in a beautiful way. So as someone who has literally gone to school every time I felt not good enough at something, in hindsight, I can look back and feel grateful for all those times of not feeling good enough and not feeling worthy and not feeling capable, because it pushed me to develop skills and have knowledge that hopefully can serve people in a very short period of time and not take decades like it took me.
That's wonderful. And you know what I love is that we both had such opposite experiences, but it just shows people that there's no one right path. And that, because mine came from this feeling unworthy. I dropped out of school in grade 10 and I basically just went and lived life sort of in a crazy party way for a while and then started learning through spiritual experience. But no matter what happened, I feel like both of us have been able to take the lessons from the problems and actually grow and become stronger because of it.
Absolutely. And I'm so glad that you're highlighting that, because that was the point of what I was trying to highlight. You just said it very succinctly. It's one of the tools I use in my coaching practice is a wealth dynamics assessment. And that's kind of, they have their own mountain analogy. And part of how they talk about it is it's about success is available for all of us. However you define success, right? That's a very subjective and personal definition. And, you know, being able to, first of all, get clarity on what that even means to you, right? Like that's, by the way, that's what I do. I help people figure out what they really want and how to get it. And that first step, so many people skip over it. They get, and I did this for years, which is why I know how painful it is to be sucked into this process or this social expectations, or my parents want this for me, or my husband says I want this, or my best friend or my siblings or celebrities have this. So if I get that, then I'll be successful. But at the end of the day, success is a very, very personalized definition. So once you have that, and if you can understand how you're designed to receive it, because we're all meant to receive, right? Like what you just shared, we have opposite sides of experiences, but we both found our way.
Yeah.
And it's okay that it's different paths, because each person on this planet has their own unique path. It's part of, like one of my taglines is, it's great to have somebody show you what worked for them, but it's better to have somebody show you what will work for you.
Love
and it's what I have been committed to my entire 22 years of coaching. Like as a coach, it's like, I knew I had to figure it out for myself first, but I also feel a sense of responsibility in serving other people, because nobody else is exactly like me. So there's going to be people that resonate with parts of my story today. And that's amazing. That's what stories are for. That's why they've existed for all of humanity as one of the most powerful access points of transformation, because you can see yourself in someone else's story. Mm-hmm. And so regardless of, you know, to each of you who are listening, thank you so much for being here. And regardless if it's, you know, Kai's story or my story or someone else in this series that you resonate with, remember that any part that makes you get excited, it's because you're seeing what's possible for you. And feel into that and just believe that. And the wealth dynamics thing, just so I don't lose that point, they actually, I love how they teach it. Roger, I can't think of his last name, Roger Hamilton, I believe, is the founder of that program. And part of how he teaches this process is that, you know, all sides of the mountain have wealth coming down all the time. Abundance, success, again, whatever it is that you're desiring more of in your life for this example. And some sides of the mountain are icy, and other sides, the sun hits and there's waterfalls. And let's say Kai, you and I are literally, we just shared how opposite we are.
Yeah.
So let's say I'm on the icy side of the mountain and I have a bucket and I'm trying to like receive my success and my abundance. And you're on the waterfall side and you have an ice pick and you're trying to catch the waterfall. Both of us are going to struggle.
Yeah.
But if we can find our path up the mountain, like an ice pick, if you come over to the icy side, like you're going to hit gold,
yeah,
right? Like you're going to make massive advancements. And if I would take my bucket over to the waterfall, it'd be so easy. Mm-hmm. So adversity is, I guess to me, it's almost like having the courage to wander around the mountain, however long it takes, to find where your tools work, rather than trying to change who you are. Find where you can thrive.
Mm. And like how you said, to wander around the mountain, it's not always like this direct point. You do have to look and search and be up and down a bit. You know, might have to go up here and then back down here before you can find the right path. And I just want everyone to listen, who's listening, just to know that that's actually okay. It's part of the journey. You can't get it perfect straight away. And you're never going to get it perfect. So you just keep going anyway.
Mm-hmm. And you know, it's like wherever you are on your path. So again, Kai and I have very different beginnings or mindsets where we started from, but we both had challenge after challenge after challenge, almost right from the get-go. I mean, I left home at 17. It wasn't like this took me until I was older to show up. It was there right away. And in hindsight, like what really next leveled me was when I thought I had it all figured out. It's a very, in my opinion, dangerous place to be. But yes. I was very excited to enjoy that brief moment in my life. And it was like, I had a business making good money. I had married the man of my dreams. I had a body I was in love with. And we decided to start a family. And we went through loss after loss after loss after loss. And the day before my fourth miscarriage, my marriage blew up. And this all happens in the middle of what was on track to be a $50,000 program launch. So everything I thought I had figured out, love, money, business, myself, none of it was working. And I thought about quitting. I mean, I think we all, if you're an entrepreneur, you've definitely had moments of, what am I doing? Maybe I should quit, da, 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 da. If you're not an entrepreneur, maybe you don't think about quitting, but it's the same feeling. Mm-hmm. And it might sound more like, who am I to think I could have this? Why am I trying so hard? What am I really doing? It's never going to happen. Same feeling. And when that knocked me on my knees. And I had been studying human design. And by the way, I didn't even know I was taking courses that counted for certification. I was just so curious about it. This is how Like my brain is just, I love learning and I'm constantly evolving. And so I didn't even realize I was like more than halfway level 1 certified.
Wow.
And I was fascinated by the concept. So human design, for those of you that don't know what it is, it's essentially like your energetic blueprint. It's like a map to how you're designed to be from an energetic level. And it informs everything, right? Like that's the base of the mountain. To take it 3D, you have to understand your energy. We can look at your body, your mindset, your money, your business, your relationships, all the other parts of the mountain, but it's 2D. It's not complete. It's not, in my opinion, human design bought all of that, almost 2 decades of studying, thousands of coaching hours, so much time and money and energy invested in learning. And it brought it all together for me. Next level. It brought it into like this, like, this is who I am. There was a level of validation and a very uncomfortable point of realizing I had been trying to be like everybody else, which is why I'm so passionate about not showing people what worked for me, but showing people what will work for them. Because at the end of the day, I found out I'm a projector. And so 80% of the population is not. And that means 80% of the population doesn't get me. Mm-hmm. And they don't operate like me. And I don't just mean like how my body works, like our lungs work the same, human to human. Our heart beats the same. Our blood pumps the same. But even in my sports medicine degree, there's little things like, for example, there's this little bone, and I can't, of course, remember the name of it right now, but there's this little like bone as part of your AC joint and from your collarbone out to your arm that 10% of the population is born without it. Even our bodies have, like, you can probably think of like, people that I have a hitchhiker's thumb. I can do this. Not everybody can do that. We have,
I don't think I can. Yeah.
See? So it's like, there's certain things that are easy to tap into and understand. Oh, your eyes are this color. My eyes are this color. That's just how we are. But when it comes to our energetic blueprint, and this is like in human design, it is like a energetic fingerprint almost, like how we don't have the same fingerprints as any other human. Same with our human designs. Now there's 5 main types. There's 9 different types of authorities. There's, there are like some bigger components that you can understand. So for example, I'm a projector. That's one of 5 types. But then the more I got into it, where I was like, and this is I'm an emotional authority. Okay. That makes me very different than my husband, who's a sacral authority. And this, and starting to really, I felt like I was going to lose everything. I was going to lose my business. I was going to lose my marriage. I was going to lose my friggin' mind and my self-respect if I couldn't tap into something bigger than everything I already knew. After 2 decades, multiple degrees, I've won awards in multiple industries, and I was still feeling like I was going to lose it all. And human design was something that came in and allowed me, like I said, first of all, to feel validated. Like, oh my gosh, no wonder my market, and it wasn't like my marketing was bad, but it was so exhausting, right? Like running my business just felt like an uphill battle. It did. And it was like, knew I was in integrity, but in alignment and integrity are very different things. And I knew, like in my relationship, I was doing everything I knew how to do, but I didn't understand myself at the next level. And because I was trying to hit next level, and this is the thing. So those of you who are listening, who are like, it's okay to want next level, to want more. It's okay. Not everybody is like that. It's not going to make sense to all of your friends, to all of your family members. It's just not. And that's okay. But because I'm the type of person that does want more, wants to have more impact, wants to make more money, wants to have more love, wants to be more capable as a human, as a mom, as a friend, as all the things. I feel like if I'm not growing, what's the point?
Yeah.
And so for me, human design was like, oh, I don't have to market that way. I don't have to, like, even for example, communication stuff. Like, I have transformed how I coach because of understanding that so much of what's out there that is amazing, by the way, and works for 50 to 70% of people. It's great. But for the person that's like, I'm not in that, I guarantee I'm not in that 50 or 70% because I've tried everything and that shit ain't working. Part of it is like, for me, I've found that human design can very quickly tweak certain things in the 3 most painful areas that everyone has in their life, which is health, relationships, and money. Almost everything that keeps you up at night, that you worry about, that you want more in, that motivates you, it's most likely in one of those 3 key areas. And that's like, for me, I'm like, it boils down to, well, who are you? Because if you know who you are, if you know where on the mountain, if you know what your tools are that you were born with, then you can figure out how to use the tool. Like the ice pick and water pail. Yeah. If I spend $1 million on courses learning how to use an ice pick and I have a bucket, how is it going to work for me? It's not. And so that is like a very abbreviated version of how human design, again, I had already been studying it, but I started implementing it next level. And, you know, fast track 3 years later, 4 years later, we have a new house. My husband and I are still together. Our marriage is next level. And we now have our little mini Perry. Like my body my body healed itself to the point of being able to carry a pregnancy full term. My communication skills shifted because I started understanding, again, all the things I had learned along the way were not wasted. They were critical. But I understood how to apply them from my truth, from my uniqueness, and also in a way to see and honor my husband's uniqueness. It has changed my friendships. It has changed like family dynamics for me. Like when new nieces and nephews are born, I'm like, what time are they born? Like I'm looking up their chart. Like it's so next level. And also even with my business, like I was able to, I shut down that launch that was on track to be 50,000 because it was just too much. It was literally within 48 hours, like my marriage hit a wall and then a next level thing. And my adversity, like Kai's adversity, whatever your adversity might be, there's no like, there is a definition for adversity, but there isn't for trauma. Not in the same way. Because we have all faced trauma. We have all faced adversity. And there's no right or wrong on, well, this counts as trauma and this doesn't. To help you guys really tangibly anchor into this, because I know that I'm using a lot of words that might be like super coachy, or I really want everyone listening, because when trauma comes up or when adversity comes up, you have a story in your head about a thing.
That's it.
Your thing. And the example I use to basically give you permission to just let that be okay, that that's your adversity or your trauma, is an example of falling out of an apple tree. Imagine 2 8-year-olds playing together in the same apple tree, and they fall out of the same apple tree on the same day. It's the same weather, and they both break the same arm. And they go to the same hospital and the same doctor takes care of them both. And they both have to get a cast for the summer. And one 8-year-old walks out and he's like, look how cool this is. I'm going to have all my friends sign it. I can definitely go jump out of the apple tree even more now because I can't break this arm again. And cool. Like I'm down. Like I'm kind of unbothered. And the other 8-year-old walks out and they're in pain. They're focusing on the pain. The memory keeps like going, or the fall just keeps going and going and going over in their head. They don't want anybody to touch their arm because what if it makes it worse? And in fact, they don't even ever, not only do they never want to climb an apple tree again, they're never even eating apples again for the rest of their life because it's too much. You wouldn't look at a little kid and say you're wrong for letting that bother you. You would let a little child have their experience. So why, as adults, do we stop giving ourselves permission to, okay, that affected me this way? And once we recognize that was a trauma for me,
yeah,
that was adversity for me, then first of all, you survived it. Good job. Like, that is key. After you've gotten to the point of you've survived it, now you've accepted, now we can look at healing it and transforming it. Because it's never going to go away. There's everything in my story that I've shared so far, it's still part of me. But it no longer shuts me down. It no longer holds me back. It no longer controls me. It no longer runs the show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and exactly what you said about how they had the two different experiences. I meet a lot of people and they're like, well, other people had it worse than me, so I can't really feel disappointed or bad about what happened. But your feelings are valid. It's not a competition about who had it worse. You know, everyone has their own level of suffering. So it's about understanding that you do have suffering and to let yourself feel the pain of that. And then once you feel it, then you can actually reframe it and start rebuilding a new story.
Yes, absolutely. I think that that's something that is so powerful. I love how you said about then you have a chance to reframe it because, you know, there's actually, I love acronyms. So is it okay if I share an acronym that might help people tap in? So again, if you're in the comparison game or you're trying to say that something that bothers you doesn't bother you, then you're never going to be able to actually like release it. Mm-hmm. And we store that in our physical bodies. There's mindset things that happen where we say the same phrases, like our internal gremlins come up. But it also is part of our energetic blueprint gets conditioned where it takes us out of our power. It takes us out of our natural, like how we're naturally designed to make powerful decisions, or from how we're designed to tap into areas of wisdom. For example, like that's something amazing about understanding the centers in human design. And we have power centers, we have dependable centers, we have centers of wisdom. And if you know what you're, for example, I have a dependable emotional center, and like I feel a lot of feelings in a really big way. And my husband is completely open in that center, which means he doesn't get it. He doesn't feel them the way I feel. And it's not because I'm a drama queen, and it's not because I'm wrong. It's because his experience is different, but that's actually a wisdom center for him. And so knowing that, like our partnership, he's very funny about it. Actually, he'll be like, oh my God, wait, something's happening. I think it's a feeling. I think I'm having one. I mean, he's really funny about it, but it's also coming from a place of that's an area of wisdom for him. So if you're in this place of hopefully you're inspired by today's talk that so far you're like, okay, I understand what adversity is in next level. I've already reframed it because Kai and Bethany shared how they've reframed it. And now on top of it, you're like, and I was designed to be successful. You're telling me that there's a way. I might have just been playing like the wrong sport and the wrong field, or using a tool how it wasn't meant to be used. If you're ready. So if you need a little CPR, this is my acronym. If you need some CPR in your life or in your business right now, this is a 3-step process that help you breathe a little more life into them after this process. So CPR, the first step is curiosity. Just be curious. Mm-hmm. Go look up your human design chart. You can get it for free. I'll pop a link in the comments after how you can get your free chart. Be curious about, who else can you learn from? What else? Like, just be curious. What are some other options? What are some reframes? How else could I do this? What's a better feeling thought? Like, is this really even true? Curious. A place of curiosity. That's where CPR starts.
And curiosity is the opposite of anxiety.
I love that.
When you're thinking of the future, if you're expecting bad things to happen, then you get anxious. But if you're imagining positive things to happen, then you can be curious and it will draw you forward into a better future.
I love that. Well, the P in CPR is possibilities. Ooh. So I actually feel like curious is probably the bridge between anxiety and possibility. And like, as I'm considering that, curiosity, I feel like the most useful way to be curious is actually from a place of being unattached, of not being emotional, of being more observatory. But once you've been curious, then you look at, okay, what are the possibilities? And that's where you choose, rather than going into anxiety, to go into possibility. And just look at, okay, what are the possibilities here? And again, it's like, now we're starting to like get into some quantum physics and stuff of how like neuroscience blends with our physiology and the energy brings it all together. And in case you guys don't know this, like, you are 99% energy. I was super resistant to all this woo stuff for years because my background is so scientific. And then this is what hit me like a ton of bricks, was like, whoa, wait a minute. If quantum physics and energy and like all these like things I was studying, and I was using them to keep myself in a box. And it was, if that keeps the moon spinning around the earth every day, and that keeps the earth with the moon spinning around the earth, spinning around the sun, and not hitting any of the other planets that are also doing the same thing, some of them with a lot more moons, how special do I really think I am if it can spin entire planets for hundreds of years? Like, there's people alive that I can talk to that are like, yes, the moon has been showing up every day. I can track that for 100. I wasn't here 10,000 years ago. I couldn't prove that, but I was like, I can literally prove, I can know that this has been going on for well over 100 years. Who am I to think that it would have no impact on how I operate? And so from there, I really was like, okay, and I know, like, if you break down, your hand looks all solid. This is my hand. Your hand looks like your hand. It's your physical expression of your essence. But break it down to cells, to atoms. It's a proton, a neutron, and an electron going like this.
Yeah.
It looks like this, and they're all together. So I think it's solid. I think it's real, but it's 99% energy. So what's possible, okay? This is part of how I lived it out in my own life. In smaller situations, like if you're in a fight with your partner or something, or you're making a business decision, you're like, okay, what's possible? And looking at it, you've been curious. Imagining possibilities is a lot easier. And then the final step is taking responsibility. Which possibility am I going after first? Which part, who do I need to be to make this possibility that I desire the most, a reality? Who do I need to talk to? Who do I need to ask help for? What do I need to invest time, money, and energy wise? Take responsibility for the fact that is the difference, right? Like, I think so many people do the C and the P. They get curious. They think about possibilities, but and then they feel like, well, I'm doing it. No, the final piece is responsibility. You have to take that piece. And I think it's like so sexy. Yes. I love seeing people take responsibility. I'm like,
absolutely.
Yes.
I feel like we've all been taught to always give excuses. Like as kids, you have to tell people like why and explain yourself. And it's trained everyone to always blame outside circumstances. You know, like other people or the weather or the economy or all these different reasons. And it just actually comes down to like, well, did you actually choose to find a way or not? You know, that's
I love what you said, because I also believe that adversity is not like external circumstances can feel challenging, but, and this is not in the definition of like Webster or anywhere else, but this is my personal take on this, is that the real adversity is on the internal obstacles. And the external challenges are just actually proving it, not proving to you, but like it's serving you. It's like, this is hard because there's this inside that needs some shifting.
yeah, it's like a mirror to your internal reality.
Exactly. Like not even fixing. Like one of my core values is Kaizen, which is constantly improving. And part of how I describe that is with another K word called kintsugi, which, have you heard of kintsugi before?
No.
Okay. It's a Japanese practice. I believe that is primarily around fixing broken dinnerware.
Oh yeah, with the gold.
Mm-hmm. And so for a long time, my branding was like blue china patterns with like gold laced through. And part of that came from because I felt so broken. And it took me a long time. Like there's so many challenges and like really big things that I haven't even shared with you guys on this live stream. And it doesn't matter because each one of them now is a gold piece. So the kintsugi practice is that if let's say a dinner plate fell and broke, that they wouldn't sweep it up and throw it away. They would actually use liquid gold to repair it. And now that plate is actually valued, treasured even more. It's considered more beautiful and more valuable for having been through what it went through. And because the liquid gold actually adds to its worth. So we talked about unworthiness at the very beginning of this conversation. If you can reframe that is an opportunity for you to add liquid gold to your soul, to your mission, to who you are on this planet. And, you know, really like at the end of the day, if you live this whole life not knowing who you are, not accepting who you are, and not only knowing who you are and accepting who you are, but then sharing who you are with the world, however that is for you. It might be being a stay-at-home mom and sharing with your kids. It might be being an amazing friend. It might be being a business owner with a service or a product that matters to you. I'm not here to define what sharing your gifts and talents looks like, but I know that I cannot imagine a single human being ends up at the end of their time on this earth who would regret fully sharing, knowing who they are and sharing who they are, how they were meant to. Mm-hmm. To me, that's my biggest fear, probably, personally. So of course I'm on a mission to make sure that doesn't happen to me and anybody else along the way that I can help get, more fully self-expressed is my honor.
Wow. Yeah, I feel the same way because I had so much to heal from, like with PTSD and social anxiety, and I could list some more. I'm like on this obsessed mission to help as many people wake up to their true power as possible. And I feel like that really is resonates with your mission as well.
1,000%. And there is something beautiful. I do want to clarify because, as much as I said, it's not about, like, I firmly believe in that it is better to have someone show you what will work for you rather than show you what worked for them. It's really, again, this is my opinion, but it's almost impossible for people to believe or to trust if we haven't embodied that work on our own way. So it's like, it might look a little different for someone else to get curious or to look at possibilities or to take responsibility. Getting through adversity, it might be a different challenge. It might be a different path, right? Like we talked about wandering around the mountain. That's in order to, in a position like you and I are both coaches, right? So we both serve and help people navigate this process. from our unique perspectives and our unique skill sets and our unique strengths. But at the end of the day, it is about helping the client figure out their way.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it would be impossible for anyone to trust either one of us if we hadn't been through the adversity and the challenges and proven to ourselves however many hundreds, if not thousands of times, right? Because like, I think there's a level of personal power that comes when you've done it. So the first day you do a push-up in the gym, you're like, that was ugly. That was hard. I don't want to do that ever again. And then when you go back and all right, now, hey, I've had to do 5 push-ups, but guess what? It was a little easier this time. And I'm not talking about embracing adversity, like trying to put ourselves in challenging situations in a self-sabotage kind of way. But I mean, it's going to show up. We're human.
Yeah.
And so when it does show up, if we can treat it like a push-up and know that it's liquid gold being poured into like your being, your experience, your essence, your energy, your story, and know that it's meant for you so that you get to live your fully expressed life.
Yeah. Yeah. There truly is nothing broken about anyone. There's nothing broken about anyone. And I feel like the message that I want people to hear is that if you do think you're broken or that there's something wrong with you, it's just a protection pattern to protect yourself from something that happened. It's a very real, intelligent reason, but it's from usually a child's mind. So we just have to go and change it. And I love that you use liquid gold, because in my healings, I literally call in and I have my client imagine liquid gold to fill in the spaces. And when that mixes with the darkness, the anxiety, it dissolves the anxiety completely. So liquid gold is actually like a real thing in humans too.
It is. There's all kinds of alchemical processes that are, some we can see with our eyes, some we can't. And it's really beautiful to be having this conversation about next leveling it. I feel like we've kind of jumped all over the map. And I just want to make sure, like, are there any specific questions or anything that, like, I feel like I have probably 25 ideas in my head of like, I could give you guys this, I could give you that. I do have my free quiz that people can go take. I don't want to forget to say that, but if you want to know what your success superpower is, I spent months actually really lovingly creating this. There's like over 12 possible outcomes. People have told me that it's better than paid assessments they've taken. The results page, you're going to want to bookmark it. You're going to want to like get it emailed to you so you can reference it time and time again. It truly is something I put together as part of what I am proud of will be my legacy when I'm long gone. I'll tell you the story about how I almost died last year and why the quiz came out of that another day. But I would invite you guys to follow up and explore that as a resource. But is there anything else that you would like me to speak to or possibly share a tool around that people can?
So first, though, I just put that link in the comments here.
So thank you.
Bethany's quiz here in the comments, or if you're watching on YouTube, it'll be in the description. And if you are watching on YouTube, please subscribe and give this a like. So yes, I have a very simple question for you, pretty broad range. But what is one tip or like action step that you could give our viewers so that they could walk away from here and make a difference in their life?
Sure. So let me just breathe into like what would be the most powerful thing I could give you right now. I think I'm going to stick with the triangle analogy. And since we've been talking about mountains and we've been talking about that, I just feel like it would flow really nicely. And this is a tool from like human needs psychology, but creating a state change. So because I know you deal with like anxiety and really helping give people tools for that, I think it would benefit them to understand if you're thinking about all the ways that we have to be successful that we've already talked about, and then you're feeling stuck, like, but I can't, or there's still some resistance, or there's like, some conditioning that pops up, or you get triggered. doing a state change, if you follow that triangle analogy, there's 3 very key ways that you can change in the instant to at least buy you time to take a few deep breaths and like pick up the phone and call someone, or go back into your feelings, and then you can come back out. Like, you can use this on the fly. Sometimes it's enough that it gets you out of it and you can stay out of it. But the reason I'm using a triangle for this is because there's 3 most effective ways to do this in a moment. Number 1 is change your focus. This is the hardest of the 3. But it's, what are you focusing on? Are you focusing on the problems? Are you focusing on what could go wrong? Or are you focusing on what could go right? Are you focusing on a lesson you could learn? Right? So focus is one. It is the hardest. An easier one is to shift your words. So how are you internally talking about the feelings or the experience you're having? Are you saying like, oh my God, I'm so mad? Or are you saying like, I'm really frustrated and I need a 5-minute break? I'm really angry and I'm gonna I want to punch somebody, versus I'm really angry and I need a walk, right? Mm-hmm. So shifting your words. And notice all I did is shift 1 or 2 words in that sense. I didn't say it was wrong to be angry, but it's the internal dialogue, because so much of that is conditioning and patterning from role models in our life. When someone gets angry, this is how you cope with it. Healthy or unhealthy. We mimic a lot of that. And the higher our emotions go, the less we're in our conscious brain and actually making choices. We're almost going on autopilot. So shifting your focus is the first one. Shifting your words. And then the third one is actually moving your body. It can be amazing. Like, go do a push-up. Yeah. An actual push-up. Like, it will get you, it will like throw some cold water on your face. Do something with your body. You might even, when you get really good at doing this, by the way, you can start, like one of my clients who had struggled with claustrophobia, and he was able to decide, like, we made very specific connections for lots of reasons, but this was his thing. So he could get in an elevator and he could tap, and nobody would notice he was doing this. And he would just tap his middle finger and his thumb. And then when the elevator started moving, he would like pinch them, squeeze them, sometimes dig a nail in if it was really bad, but it wasn't, he wasn't trying to self-harm, but it was enough to, it wasn't causing any bleeding or anything, just for the record. Like, we don't want to physically harm you in this process. But it was enough for his brain could not stay in the fear and the anxiety. He had to focus on what the heck is going on in this thing. Because our brain's number 1 job is to keep us alive. Yeah. The number 2 job, well, not job, but its job is to keep us alive. Its favorite thing to do when it knows we're alive is to make sure we're right. So if you can shift your focus, if you can shift your words, if you can do something, move your body, shift your physical state, it will very quickly get you out of whatever you're going through, so that you can make a decision rather than have a reaction. Mm-hmm. And I think that hopefully that lands really well to give like some tangible things, like, because at the end of the day, we're talking about overcoming adversity, and I shared the actual definitions I had looked up. It never said that you're not afraid. It never said that you were certain, and it never said that you were perfect. So shift your focus. It doesn't have to go to a perfect focus. Shift your words. You don't have to know the perfect words to say. Mm-hmm. Do something with your body. You can't get it wrong. Yeah. Like, so that is the easiest one. The physical one is the easiest one to shake you up, because your brain goes, wait, hold on. I can't oh, all right. Now I can go back to worrying about this. And then you do it again. Yeah. So I hope that helps and is exciting for your listeners.
That's super valuable. The state changes everything. That's just the best thing you could have shared. Thank you so much.
You are so welcome. I really appreciate you having me on, Kai. I look forward to continuing to stay connected with you. And I guess we will follow up after this. But for now, It's been amazing.
So thank you everyone for joining us. If you're not following Bethany Perry, make sure you go and follow her on all of her channels and grab her free gift either here in the comments or if you're on YouTube in the description. Okay, thanks everyone. Bye.